Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. I spend time twice weekly. It's on Tuesdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern, answering questions from job hunters about, well, actually, let me restate that. Answering questions from people about job search, hiring more effectively, management, leadership, career transition, and whatever surfaces that's professionally related. If you've got a question for me, just put it into chat. I'd be very happy to answer it. Also, at my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us, there's a ton in the blog that'll help you. In addition, while you're there, you can schedule time for a free discovery call, schedule time for coaching, find out about my courses, books, and guides. There's just a lot there that'll help you. And you can also subscribe to JobSearchTV.com on YouTube. It's also available as an app on Amazon for a Fire Stick or a Fire TV. And JobSearch TV is also available on bingenetworks.tv, which appears on more than 300 streaming services around the world. And if you're a job hunter globally, my content can help you as well. It's English language, though. I just want to point that out. Also want to remind you to connect or follow me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/the Big Game Hunter. Let me just get that in the chat so it's available for you to see. And I have a piece of exciting news today, and that is Lance Secretan released a new book called What We Got Wrong About Business. And I have a link for you to download a copy for free. I have two short essays in there that I think you'll enjoy. And if you go to thebiggamehunter.us/wrong, WRONG, you can download a free copy of the book there. Again, that's thebiggamehunter.us/wrong. And you can download a copy of What We Got Wrong About Business. Let me restate what I put there. It's What We Got Wrong About Business. So I'll just simply say, get your free copy. It's not going to be available forever. And for now, it's free. So download it. And let's see, Srinath, no problem. Looking forward. And I'm not sure what you're referring to, but happy to answer your questions if you have any. So if you have a question, just put it into chat. I'd be happy to answer it. Now, I received a bunch of questions in advance of the show, but I always have people who are live cut the line so I can deal with their questions here. So the first question I received, or I'm going to cover today, is what is your personal favorite question to ask your interviewer at the end of a professional interview? The last question I have people ask when I coach them is there anything that you've heard or not heard that gives you reason to question whether I'm qualified to do this job? Now, the reason I have people ask that question is really very simple. Number one is most interviewers are not trained, so they sometimes ask things amateurishly, and thus the result winds up being that they get an answer different than what they were looking for because it wasn't phrased correctly. So what I encourage people to do is to ask that question at the end, because in this way, it gives them a chance to say, I really didn't hear a lot about your experience with such and such. Oh, you asked that question about this. You want me to talk about that. And I spoke about this other thing. Would you like to know about my background with that? And what that allows you to do is make sure that you're covering any questionable area that came about as a result of them not being sure. And if they say something along the lines of that's right, you can acknowledge, yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with that. What I've done is this. And if you're looking for something more than that, that's not me. You're absolutely right in your assessment. And thus, it gives you one last chance to clarify a misimpression that someone has about what you're capable of doing and what your experience is. Now, of course, they can lie. They can say, no, I did a great job. But there are always those people who will tell you the truth. So ask that question at the end. Is there anything that you've heard or not heard that gives you reason to question whether I'm qualified? Now, Srinath says, a new era in my life. Fabulous. Congratulations. I hope it is a successful period of time. And my phone tuned out. Sorry. So, well, welcome to technology. It happens too. And I'll just simply say, if anyone has a question or a comment, just put it into chat. I'd be very happy to acknowledge you, answer your question, and it'd be great. Okay, so next question is, as a manager, what are some hints an employee is lying about why they took time off? So the first question I have to ask is, why does it matter if they're not being truthful with you about why they took time off? Is it because they don't trust you, that they felt compelled to lie to you? So I have to always start with the environment that someone works in as to whether or not something that you as a manager do that causes someone to want to lie to you, believe they have to lie to you about why they took off. Maybe they're burned out. They just need an extra day. Maybe they're on an interview. Maybe that's the reason why they're taking time off and they won't tell you. Whatever it is, it always starts with you, not them. That they're lying because they don't believe that they can trust you. Now, how can you recognize it? You know the person. You know how they reveal things to you through what they say and what they do. And of course, you can follow up the next day by asking them, hi, how was such and such? You know, how was your day yesterday? And thus learn through their manner what they were doing and whether they were being truthful. It's not the words that matter, it's the behavior. And that's true of you as well. What are you doing to cause problems that cause an employee to need to lie to you, to want to lie to you about why they took time off? Now, I've got a question here. I apologize. I'm not going to mispronounce your first name. If you could put it phonetically into chat, I'd be happy to address you by your first name. Otherwise, the question is it right to seek feedback from an interview you were promised feedback from 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks have gone by. Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things I encourage people to ask during an interview is one of their final questions, like their next to last question, is they ask, when might I hear from you about next steps? Oh, I expect the early part of next week, or let's say in your case, about 2 weeks' time. So if I haven't heard from you, and you give like 2 weeks and 2 days, let's say if I haven't heard from you in like 2.5 weeks, would it be okay if I followed up? Sure, or wait. If they say wait, they don't want to be contacted. Now here, you're trying to figure out after 3 weeks whether you should contact them for feedback. Absolutely. And I would just message them or text them, depending upon how you've been communicating with them, and simply say to them, I interviewed on such and such date and time. I haven't heard anything back. Have I been rejected, or are you still interviewing people? I'd be that direct with them. Now, perhaps culturally, that's, thank you, Sri. Sri wanted to make sure I knew how to pronounce his first name. I would want to make sure that they hadn't forgotten. So I'd be specific and point it to them. If they said, yes, you were rejected, I said, thanks, I appreciate the direct communication. Anything I should know that prompted you to choose someone else? Or haven't you chosen anyone else? Why was I turned down? I'm not here to argue. I just want to understand and learn. And you may get a vague answer because the person you're communicating with may not really know, but ask and see if they'll inform you about why you were turned down. Or they may respond by saying, oh, we just have two more people to interview. They had to reschedule. We should be finished by such and such date. Great. But what you've done is communicate your interest by letting them know that you were following up and asking for feedback. So you've indicated interest and that you're also still available. So by all means, ask. It doesn't hurt. And if it does hurt, why? Why? Why would they be troubled by the fact that you're trying to find out whether you're still under consideration or whether you were rejected? Seriously, why would it be a problem? So, by all means, let them know. Ask for feedback. It's been 3 weeks. If they're still interviewing, great. Keep trying to get other jobs. Don't just sit around waiting for this one. Okay. And I'll just remind everyone, if you've got a question about job search, hiring, management, leadership, career transitions, or want advice about a particular workplace issue, put it into chat. I'll answer it on today's show. Also, visit my website, thebiggamehunter.us, where you can schedule time for a free discovery call, schedule time for coaching, find out about my courses, books, and guides. There's just a lot there that'll help you. Also, subscribe to JobSearchTV.com on YouTube. Download the app on Amazon. Watch me on BingeNetworks.tv, which appears on more than 300 streaming services around the world. And subscribe to No BS Job Search Advice Radio, which is the #1 podcast in Apple Podcasts for job search. No show has done as many episodes as I have. It's more than 2,450 episodes at this point on a wide range of topics. So again, No BS Job Search Advice Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where it's a video podcast, Amazon Music, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts, the show's available. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/The Big Game Hunter. And I appear in a new book. I believe I'm on pages 6 and 7, 2 different essays, or it could be 7 or 8, of what we got wrong about business that you can download for free at thebiggamehunter.us/wrong. Now, I've got a lot more today. And again, I'm happy to answer your questions too. What are some things that candidates do during interviews that make recruiters hate them? Funny question. Let's put aside for a moment the idea that recruiters could be having a bad day and that the fact that you're breathing may trouble them on that particular day. So let's just put that aside for a moment, okay? What do they do that makes recruiters hate them? They're not clear. They are caught in lies. Once you've done recruiting for a period of time, you can smell bull. You can smell the BS that people are dishing out. They're inconsistent in their answers. So, for example, in one conversation, they talk about looking for such and such salary. In the next one, they talk about a different amount that's even higher. And thus, recruiters talk to their clients and talk about how much a person's looking for, and suddenly you're coming in with a higher number. When they get to the point where it's time to schedule the interview, and you at the interview tell their client that you're looking for more, you're making them look bad. So things that make recruiters look bad in front of their clients make uh, they hate you for that. And that one deservedly so. So I'll just simply say inconsistency, uh, being unsure, not being able to back up what you say in the interview are all things that make them hate you. And hate is a strong term, but I'm going to stick with your question. Okay. What in An interviewer asks, what engages you at work? How should I answer this? What does the interviewer seek by asking this? Great question. Um, and what they're trying to do is to see if you're dead from the neck up. You're a human corpse, whether you still have life in you, because they want to see if you have passion still, or whether you're burned out and tired. So the first thing you need to do is become animated. Put a smile on your face, light up your eyes, and be excited and say, there's so much about what I love about my job. So, what engages me at work? I love a difficult challenge. I'm making this up. You you do what makes sense for you. But remember, it's not just what you say that matters; it's how you say it that counts. So I love solving complicated problems. I love working with other people to solve problems. I love learning a lot. And if you're asking me about what engages me at work, working with an end user to solve what their needs are and seeing the successful delivery of fill in the blank that allows them to feel well cared for, solve their problem, be attended to. I just really, I get so excited about that and look excited. Look excited because that's really what makes the difference is looking excited. Okay. If you sound dull and bored, and it's basically flat affect, they don't see you as being engaged. They see you as being a tired has been. And that's never the way you want to join an organization, is to be seen as being burned out and tired, do you? Here's a fun one. Managers, would you terminate an employee who's getting a written warning but happens to check the box that says they don't agree with the warning? If yes, why? There are a lot of behavioral issues that show up. Would I do it on the spot? No. I'd listen to them to try and learn from them um, what their side of this is if I didn't know it. So first thing I would say is, it's interesting. Tell me why you disagree with this appraisal. And then I would gently but respectfully and directly um, make it very clear that I see it very differently and that, um, you know, my goal isn't to get you into trouble. I just want to get results. So I'd rather keep you on board, but if you're right and I'm wrong, then you're just going to prove it to me over the next month because it's normally a 30-day written warning where you have to improve your performance. So um, I wouldn't terminate them on the spot. I'd listen to what they had to say, of course. And then from there, talk with them about what I expect of them over the next 30 days. So that in this way, it's not uh, a false exercise. It's a legitimate one in trying to help someone improve their performance so I can keep them because replacing people is far more expensive. It is very expensive to replace productive employees. Now, again, sometimes, and excuse me for bringing this kind of stuff up, but it's the times that we live in, there's sexual harassment, which can occur. We associate that with men to women, but I've had cases where it's been women to men. And it can be man to man or woman to woman. So this is not purely a heterosexual issue, but there can be harassment that takes place. There can be racism, sexism, homophobia. Um, there can be ageism that occurs. Um, And I would just simply say, these are unacceptable in the workplace. And you want to make sure that you're clear about what the issues are so that in this way, you don't have headaches going forward. So let's see now. I love learning about patterns, data, and neuroimaging. That's great. And I'm doing a Q&A show. So if you've got a question, put it into chat. I'd be very happy to answer it, okay? Um, Here's a fun one. I had to withdraw from school for 2 years and returned and graduated because but my GPA was low. How do I explain this to a recruiter? Real simple. You tell them the truth, but with some texture. When I got into university, when I got into college, I was 18, 19 years old and not as mature as I am now. So my first 2 semesters, I did terribly because my head wasn't in it. Or I had a grandparent who was in the process of dying, and my heart wasn't in school. I wanted to spend time with he or she, or a parent that was dying, or whatever it is. You can tell them, as long as it's not a stupid reason. But if and I'm not going to go into what stupid reasons are. You're mature and adult, and you know what these kind of things are. So I just simply say, I left school because my heart wasn't there, my head wasn't there. I just wasn't performing. So I went home, um, solved, was with my family during this terrible time, returned to school, but the damage was already done because I had dropped out. Um, Toward the end of the second semester, and my grades were terrible during the first two. From a GPA standpoint, I could never recover. However, if you look at my transcripts, and I'm happy to provide them, what you'll see is, once I returned to school, I had 3 5s, 3 6s, whatever it was. But when you have zeros or 0.5s, it's kind of hard to have a productive grade because the first year of your schooling was terrible. So I'll just simply say, explain it with sincerity. Sound sincere. Don't sound like you're reciting facts. Sound like a human being trying to talk to another human being. Make a connection. It will make a difference in how the information is received. What do mediocres do, employees do, that the best employees don't do? Well, I would start off by saying one of the things that they do is they don't care about doing great work. So they do good enough work, average work, mediocre work. What does mediocre mean? Average, ordinary. And thus, the best employees do better work. They seem to care. Outcomes matter to them. And the result winds up being when you're mediocre, it shows. So the best employees care about doing world-class work. That's what they strive for. And for those of you who follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see that I often use the hashtag be great because I don't like when people act average, mediocre. Take it easy and do things that basically say good enough is. Um, and and hurt themselves. They're not giving best effort. So everything you do, start getting into the habit of doing it world class, putting in best effort. Other people will start to notice it. You may inspire others to step up. And then there are people who are going to call you names and they don't matter because they don't care about doing good work. They will make fun of you. In the US, one of the pieces of slang that's used is to call someone a brown nose because your nose is up the butt of your manager. Who cares? You care about excellence. And if you care about excellence and can deliver on it, you have an opportunity to stand out from the mediocrities that you're working with. And if your manager doesn't appreciate that, well, maybe you need to find a different manager or a different job. And in terms of stepping into other organizations or other parts of the organization when they interview you, why do you want to move on? I really like Jeff as a manager. I like him personally. The problem I have is, frankly, he accepts mediocrity, and that's not me. I care about doing great work. It matters to me. And it doesn't seem to be that way with him anymore. I assume he was that way at one point, but these days he seems to be a different man, or she seems to be a different manager than when she first started. So, what do they do differently? They care. They care. It shows that they care. They're willing to put in effort, whereas mediocre employees accept good enough, and good enough rarely is. How long can you search for another job before your employer finds out? What would happen if your employer found out you were looking for another job? So I'm going to cover this in two parts. The first is, how long can you search for another job before your employer finds out? As long as it's necessary. And if you're stupid, you'll get caught. One of the stupid things is taking off too much time from work in obvious ways. So, for example, you go into the break room to field calls all the time. Your phone is ringing incessantly with recruiters contacting you. You're not batching your callbacks so that you're able to handle a bunch of things at once. You're just taking them on the fly, and the result winds up being someone hears it and you get caught. Normally, that's not an issue. You take time off for interviews, much too much, and thus it gets noticed, and thus your work suffers. So that's how you get caught. What would happen if you were found out? Well, any number of things could happen. Your manager could sit down with you and say, "What's wrong? Why are you looking?" And I would just simply follow up by saying, "What gives you the idea I'm looking for something?" And they'll answer the question, and you can either be truthful or not as you see fit. So I'll just simply say, they're not going to fire you unless your performance is terrible, because they need you. And as a result, put yourself in their shoes. You can say, I'm doing the same work now for the last 5 years. I'd like to do something different. You can piece out the parts of the job that you don't care for anymore and see if they will outsource it to someone else who can do it so that you are not doing it. Find a way to make it work for now once you've been exposed. And if you don't care anymore, if it's about money, you can simply say, I'm underpaid by market standards. I'm sure you know that by now. Maybe you're underpaid and you know that too, but you're putting up with it. I can't afford to be working at such and such salary level. If you can solve that for me, that'd be great, because I am talking with other firms and they do seem to be willing to pay me X plus Y. So if I'm happy with the work, but I'm not happy with the money. So I'll just say, don't lie to them, but just ask them, what gives you the idea that I'm looking, so you can listen to what their interpretation is and figure out whether it makes sense. Now, Samit commented, I don't want to get married, but my job is too hectic. I'm in IT. Am I on the right path? I don't know. I would just simply say, at times, certain types of IT work is hectic. There are times during implementations that it's very hectic. Or if you're in testing, where they're trying to get a system into production and you have to test. So those are obviously hectic times. But I'll just simply say, every job has tension to it. And you may not respond to the pressure well. That's not about the job. That's more about you and whether you would feel it hectic with more demands placed upon you in a different type of job. You can tell your manager, I'm feeling overwhelmed and I need some help prioritizing because it just seems like there's too much. Well, you have to get it done. I'm telling you, I need some help prioritizing. And what can you do to help me with that? Which is the most important of these tasks? So I'm wondering, your first question is actually that you want to get married and your job is too hectic. If that's the case, Samit, just say yes in the comments area. This way I know I'm shifting gears correctly. Um, and you can then say, I'm getting married in 2 months. I'm going to take some time off at that point because we're going on a honeymoon. And the result will wind up being I'm going to take some time off and I can't work 90 hours a week. It's just too much. I want to have a family. My husband or my wife and I am going to speak in general terms, whether regardless of gender, but we want to have a family. I plan on continuing to work. And I want to be in a situation where I'm not going to kill myself to help our company make 50 cents a share more than it's doing right now. I was right about it. You are getting married. Thank you. So I'll just simply say it's too much. Tech can be hectic at times, but it doesn't have to be that way. So in getting married, you can say, hey, look, I'm not here to dedicate my life to the company. I have a husband, partner, whomever it is, I'm getting married to. And, I'm not going to work 90 hours a week. It's really that simple. So it has to scale back. You have to give me the most important things you want me to do and reassign the work. So I would just say in IT, at times it can be hectic, and at other times it can be more normal. See if you can find a more normal group that doesn't deal with this kind of chaos that you're dealing with, so that in this way you can have a personal life too. And to me, I hope it's a long-lasting marriage, and if the plans are to have a family, your children give you great joy. Let's move on. Is it common for employers to expect questions from interviewees? Yes. It shows interest. Now, they can't be stupid questions like, tell me about the benefits. Tell me about, the help. Tell me about, tell me about benefits. How big will my raises be? It can't be things like that. I have to think about the work and what it would take to be successful. So you might ask them about their expectations over the first 30, 60, 90 days after you join, and what success might look like after a year's time when it comes time for review. I have a way of phrasing those two questions that are really superior that are on my video course, The Ultimate Job Interview Framework, that's available through my website, thebiggamehunter.us. You can go to the site, there's a courses drop down. You can rent the course, you can buy the course. However you do it, it will help you interview much better. So yes, there are questions that they expect. I have 5 questions that I have people ask at the end of interviews. 1 is optional, and that's the first one, but 2 through 5 will help you stand out in a good way. And I must say, as someone said to me yesterday, who I was briefing before an interview, it's really the courses that I was briefing them on. The questions that I teach people to ask on interviews and how I teach people to answer questions like, tell me about yourself. It's a superior way than what most people do when they answer questions, when they're interviewing. So I'll just simply say, Shri says, this is what I need help in prioritizing so that I feel I'm getting my work done. Yeah. And if you're working for someone, prioritizing is important. And not knowing where in the world you are and what kind of reporting you need in order to maintain case files, in order to file insurance claims. It's important that you do things that bring in the money. So doing good work with patients is important. There's a marketing component to what you do. That's important. You can have administrative support help with the marketing if you teach them what it is that you want them to do, and then monitor how they're doing it so that they help you build your practice. So, Shri, I hope that brief comment was helpful. I'm going to close today's show by saying, I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on LinkedIn, share it, leave a comment, do something that lets people know it was worthwhile. Also, again, visit my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us. You can schedule time for a free discovery call, a coaching session. Visit the blog, which has more than 12,000 searchable posts that you can watch, listen to, or read that'll help you. You can find out about my courses, books, and guides. Also, subscribe to JobSearchTV. Watch it on bingenetworks.tv. Subscribe to No BS Job Search Advice Radio, and connect or follow me on LinkedIn. Lastly, download a free copy of What We Got Wrong About Business. That's available at thebiggamehunter.us/wrong. WRONG. Hope you have a terrific day, and most importantly, be great. See you Friday for the next show. Take care.